asking. Hey, Lisa, can you press?
Awesome. And this will work with the Prezi thing there?
Yeah, I mean, you can try
okay.
right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Yep, should be good. Yeah.
Okay. That one's on the right as well.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. You can hear me now? Hear me now? I can flip. How about now? That's good? Okay. 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 Hi, everybody. Welcome to our meetup today. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see everybody, new faces and some familiar faces, so thank you for coming. I'm Todd Hallinan. I own this group and on the meetup channel. And I also work for Four Winds Creative. I'm one of the owners there. And they're directing me over this way, so I can be on camera. That helps. Yeah, that's right. I'm shy. No, but anyway, welcome. Thank you for coming. It's great to see all of you. And I'm going to pass it over to Charlene here, who's going to introduce our first speaker.
Thanks, Todd. Hello, hello. I learned from watching Todd to stand here. First, I want to thank the people in the room, and a quick reminder that we have a remote audience joining us too. We are the Bay Area Creative Freelancers Guild meetup. We are a meetup for freelancers, primarily focused on video production. However, we find that freelancers all have common obstacles, common goals, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to nurture that community of creatives. So I want to welcome everyone who's never been. Welcome back, people who we've had before. Give a quick shout out to Epiphan Video for the live stream. Thank you. We are going to do Q&A with our fabulous presenters, but we are going to save it for the very end. So after each presenter, I'll just do a quick intro to the next presenter. We're going to get through all this fantastic content that they've customized and crafted just for you. And you, see what I did there? And then we're going to do a little, mic handoff and then answer some questions. So if you do have a question for Evan or for Steve or for Victor, just make a note or just keep it in mind so you don't lose it while you're watching everything else. All right, so first up we have Evan Miller.
On the cross.
And I have page 2 of the script.
Nailed the name. Miller's
I know.
right.
Because we're good friends too, and he's a fantastic editor and director. He's a freelance producer editor from St. Louis, Missouri. His primary clients are Cisco, Stanford, and a startup tech review channel, DGiT. What does that stand for, Evan?
DGiT is whether
DGiT.
DGiT without the first I.
I knew how to say his last name, but not that. He's passionate about documentary video, and his work has been published by San Francisco Chronicle and the Huffington Post. His latest project is a podcast for freelancing called Never Work Alone. And his website is actually Goodbye Evan, but it literally looks like Goodbye Evan, or Goodbye Van.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Evan Miller.
I got it. Definitely want to give a shout out to Four Winds Creative for hosting this meetup. They've been great to work with, and I appreciate them putting me up here again. Some of you might have actually heard this talk once before, but I do want to just say right off the bat, I fully own being a very new freelancer. I've done this for less than a year, so this is a very ambitious title to say, I think, what it takes to freelance for a living when I've been doing this for about 8 months. But hopefully you can take this as experience from someone who's new. If you're someone that's been freelancing for a while, hopefully this will sort of restart the sort of things that you remembered when you were first starting out. And these are the sort of observations I've picked up as I went along. So I'm a video editor by trade. Video editors, they get asked to do a lot. They really should just be cutting the content, right? And this says when I first started, it was basically 3 things, probably hard to read here, but now the responsibilities are they want you to script it, maybe shoot it, they want you to call the crew, they've turned you into the full filmmaker, videographer thing. So when you're freelancing, you're hungry for work, you want to get out there and you want to do things, you want people to know who you are. So you start saying, yeah, I'll do it. You want me to work for you? I can do a video. I can shoot it, sure. I may have not done it that recently, but I know how to shoot a video, right? So I think it's important when you first start to figure out what you say no to, because that's going to help people figure out who you are and what you do best. So if you find yourself saying yes, I think the first question that you need to ask is, well, do I know anybody that can do this better than me? And if you do, then you should probably try to hire that person or call that person or recommend that person for the job. If you end up saying, okay, no, I don't know anybody else that can do the job better, then the next question is, well, yeah, can you hire them? Yeah, so can you get these people on your team and make it so that you can say yes and then hire somebody to help you out? And so this all comes down to networking, right? We all know this. Freelancing is about who you know. Those people that you know are the people that you can hire. Those people are the same people then who can hire you. It's not typically a boss-employee relationship in the freelancing world, right? We kind of work with each other and for each other a lot. So these people can also help you grow as well, not just hire you, but these are the sort of people that you want to have alongside you because they're going to make you better and challenge your work a little bit, challenge your expectations. So don't try to do it all yourself. Key here that I've learned is even though you're tempted to say yes, even though you think you can do it, you really, really want to restrain yourself to what you do best as a freelancer. Because this is the mantra I have, never work alone. This is the scenario I see that happens. that if you start saying yes to too much, you start stretching yourself, you could write the script and you could go ahead and hire the crew and scout the location right, and you could shoot and direct it, and then all of a sudden now you're asked to mix it and color it and deliver it to the client. And I just want to question, why should you do that? Is this something that you really want to do? Because even though you might need the experience or the money, what's going to happen is that you're going to overpromise and underdeliver. That's going to lead you to start stressing out. The communication between you and your client is going to start to go down. You're going to start hiding things because you want, them to not know that you're struggling, and you're like, I'll just get it done in time, and you start to make assumptions. And then soon enough, the budget is gone, and the deadline is here, and you're starting to sweat. Maybe the regret has started to sneak in, and you're upset for saying yes when you could have hired somebody else or just said no in the first place and saved yourself this headache. So you're probably happy to get rid of the project when it's done. When that deadline's there, you're like, oh, thank God, that's over with, right? But at the same time, your client is probably happy to never call you back again. So you've kind of lost the point. You may have gotten a little bit of money of that job, but your reputation, your network has been damaged because you've overpromised. And now people don't know if they can trust you to do the things that you're saying you're going to do. So don't let this happen. That's if I've learned one thing, it's don't overpromise, don't let that happen. Better to say no, and better to underpromise and overdeliver. So the key things I realize is you want to find these skilled people to work with, network out there, find people that you can hire that are going to challenge you, find people that do the same thing you do that you can recommend in case that you can't say yes to a job because of schedule or whatever other reason. The work that you do is going to be better because of the other people that you hire. Your client's going to be happier, and you're going to look better too. So we're going to do a little flip around here. And so I'll just talk about where do you begin when you first start as a freelancer? It's tough to kind of get that first job and get the ball rolling. And I want to say that, it's not, the first step of freelancing isn't landing that first job because, like we all know, the network is where that job comes from. So before you get that first job, the first step is actually going out there, telling people what you do, telling people what you don't do, and letting them know that you're available and ready to do this kind of work. So in the same token, when you get to the end of the job, it's not over. Freelancing isn't just, I start the job, I end the job, job's over. Freelancing is this lifestyle of going out there and promoting yourself and doing this good work. So I like to think of it as a cycle where people hire you because you're good at what you do or they like you. One of those other things is going to get you inside that loop. Either they know you and they're willing to give you a shot, or they know that you do great work and they're willing to give you a shot. And if you do great work and they end up not liking you, the cycle's broken, they're not going to hire you again, right? If they like you and you don't do good work, well, the cycle's broken again there and they won't hire you again. So you really need to follow through with all this stuff. What I've been saying, you need that network to get that cycle going. So if you can't get work, if you're looking to get started, you got to seek that referral from who you know. And I just want to reiterate that you should never work alone as a freelancer. You might be your own boss, but you gotta have this mantra of never work alone. You're always working with your client, with some other people. Don't think of yourself as a silo, because your work is gonna be better off when you're thinking of yourself as like a team player, a supporter, you know? So last time I gave this talk, met somebody in the audience named Chris Denise. He was a 10-year freelancer, and he said, why don't we do a podcast to talk to other freelancers? So that was a great idea. So we decided we would call the show Never Work Alone, kind of based off of this mantra, and we've been interviewing people, doing our show now. Actually, we just launched it on iTunes today, so if you search in the podcast app for Never Work Alone, you should find it there. We're on Facebook too. So if you want to give that a listen, that'd be great. If you want to be on the show, that's even better. I know as a group of freelancers here, so if you want to come and approach me afterwards, I'd love to get you on the schedule and get you on the podcast. That's it for me. Thank you, guys. Wanted to kind of expand that, get into narrative filmmaking. So I joined up with the Scary Cow Collective, which is a group of filmmakers here in the Bay Area. And we made a short film called Driving While Undocumented. And there's a short trailer that I cut of this recently I'd like you to check out, just so you get a sense of an edit. You know, I wanted to show some work, and this is a little tiny thing that I've done.
Step out of the vehicle. Turn around. You don't mind if I... You step out of the vehicle. Turn around. You don't mind if I look in your car, right? You're born in the United States or some other country? Stop!
With the Cops, the short 7-minute film, got into a film festival in Los Angeles and Indonesia, and it's on the circuit now. So I'm proud of that work, and hope you'll check it out. Thanks.
Awesome. That's the cue. All right. Next up, we have Victor with Epiphan Video. Epiphan Video. How many here have heard of Epiphan? To capture, scale, mix, encode, stream, and record, and play high-resolution video. Yep, including 4K UHD. I did not know. Their customers include companies that specialize in live event production, education, healthcare, worship, manufacturing, usability, collaboration, security, and transportation. I'd like to welcome Victor to the stage, or this X.
Awesome, thank you. Well, very nice to meet everybody, and welcome to Epiphan Video. As you know, we make world-class video capture, streaming, and recording equipment. So I'll just, I've got quite a bit of experience in live streaming. I've been in the live video industry, not the post-production industry, for about 10 years now. So I do have a couple of things to say about that. So let me actually grab this, because I'll probably need this thing. So why you should be going live. So does anybody here watch videos on demand? I assume you all do. Create video on demand videos, of course, for that appear in Facebook or YouTube, right? Does anybody ever watch live videos online? Absolutely everybody. Does anybody create live videos here? So a couple of people. Okay, cool. Perfect. So who goes live? So creators, obviously. This can be you. This can be anybody else who's a social media personality. Brands and celebrities, broadcasters, and they're all doing it for the same reasons. So what are the benefits of actually going live versus doing post-production video? So there's actually three main ones. So the first one is you want to be fresh and spontaneous. You want to engage and you want to show your personality, and you want to increase your awareness and obviously your audience size. So fresh and spontaneous. This is a very basic example of how people are content creators are being fresh and spontaneous on YouTube, and this is ultimate baby surprise. But brands are doing pretty much the same thing, right? So this is a live video how orange beer cabinets are built, right? Obviously SpaceX Falcon 9 missions. It's just not the same if you don't watch it as it happens. So again, a few other examples. Obviously European football, news, and so on. So the thing about being spontaneous is it allows you to show something always new and appealing, and the viewers feel like they're part of the experience, right? And that is something that you should, as freelancer, as somebody working for even if you're enterprise, something you should always sell to the enterprise because it's so important for enterprise. Sometimes an organization that's very big and cold to kind of warm up to its customers and show its face. Again, you also want to build hype and loyalty, and hype is really this internet hype is really taken off with live streaming. So a lot of products are unveiled live these days, right? I mean, just a couple of days ago with the Apple live stream, millions of people all over the world are watching it, right? The hype was there. And the hype was there because it was live. Because it's not something where you go on a website, you read about, oh, they released this product. It's live, like you're pretty much there. So the other thing is that kind of ties into this is, of course, personality and engagement, right? So one of the things that live streaming allows you to do is it allows you to actually show the personality of the person behind the camera. And that's not always something you can do if you're doing video on demand or if you're doing it in post-production. So these are just some examples, right? So inside Peter Mansbridge's office, Peter Mansbridge is actually a Canadian newscaster. He did a live segment, showing people his office and trying to be more, I guess, human to his audience, right? So it increases the accessibility of a person, but also of an enterprise or organization, right? If you're doing it live, the person who's watching the video can, feel that they're there, right? It really helps that. And also, it's less scripted than something that's post-produced. And that's actually very important because, people say, but what if I make mistakes? What if I make mistakes doing my live stream? What if something goes wrong? That actually can be used to your benefit because it shows how authentic and how real the person behind the camera is. Something that is just really hard to convey if you're doing post-produced video. So never try to be perfect. And my suggestion is if you're going to do a live stream, no matter who it's for, don't practice it 10 times right before it begins, because what happens is it looks scripted and it's live, but you're removing that personal kind of benefit from the video. So another obviously important one is awareness and audience size. So people who watch online video, they're the feeling of being updated and informed, the feeling of being part of the event, obviously the feeling of being more authentic is there. And based on recent surveys, this is actually fairly recent, 2017, 44% of online consumers say they watch at least one live show per week on YouTube. And when I was at VidCon, which is a conference for YouTubers a couple of months ago, the CEO of YouTube, she said that actually live video is their kind of fastest growing segment. And not only because people watch it live, but also people watch it live, but then it's saved on YouTube, and then people watch it after the fact. So again, live video allows you to grow your audience in ways that just regular videos just don't. And this is why. with a live video, you can stream in real time directly to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can stream to Instagram. You can stream to Twitch. You can stream to the internal company CDN or whatever video, internal video intranet that they use. And this allows you to cover a really wide audience. And the cool thing about Facebook, for example, is if the company already has built a social following, if they've already invested into that, as soon as you start live streaming to their page, all of their followers will get a notification, which means they're able to easily leverage all of their social media efforts and use live video in order to really amplify their message to their existing followers, which is something that until a year ago when Facebook Live implemented that feature was actually very difficult. YouTube is great because it's very good quality live streams, but the content is saved and it's easily searchable after. So that's another advantage. And I would actually recommend when you are doing live streams, especially public streams, I would recommend using both Facebook and YouTube. Facebook for the more kind of immediate, because it's harder to search post, but for the more immediate viewers, the social followers, it's much better. But for YouTube, it's better for video on demand. The other thing is a lot of times what we see is Facebook is often consumed on a phone, whereas YouTube is often consumed on a screen. So you would also need to think about when you're creating this video, how exactly you want to frame your shot for a phone, right? Because sometimes what looks good here with this picture-in-picture, two cameras, one on the penguins, one on the talking head with the logo, that's gonna look like horrible on this screen size, right? So a lot of times what we see people doing is actually in one event they create two separate streams. One goes to Facebook, which is kind of a square view of just the talking head, the important subject, and the other is kind of the more detailed YouTube, kind of more involved stream. So that's also something that you should consider when you are going live. So what are the different ways to actually do the live streams? So the first one is obviously with a phone or tablet. Everybody has in their pocket. You know what they say, the best camera is the one that you have with you. That's kind of the standard spiel, but a lot of times, this is what you get. So obviously as, professionals, this is not something that we want to do. Although I have seen live corporate productions with, iPads. It does happen sometimes, but the video quality you get from dedicated camera obviously is much different. So why not use a USB webcam? Well, this is why, because a lot of times it's just, you can't zoom on a USB webcam. It's really meant for video conferencing and sitting in front of it. A lot of times people try to use, webcams because they're easy and they think, hey, a camera is a camera and it'll be fine for the live stream. But trust me, it's not. It's obvious when somebody's using a webcam. So you don't want to do this, but you want to do that. So you don't want to use an iPad and walk around with it. It's just, it's just not the same. So one of the ways you can do this is you can grab a camera, you can grab a converter that takes your HDMI or SDI feed, converts to USB, and use any software on your computer to actually do a live stream. And there's free software like OBS, for example, and there's more sophisticated software like Wirecast or vMix, which you have to pay for. The other thing you can do is you can use a dedicated encoder, and that is basically a box which converts the video from your camera into a live stream to Facebook and YouTube. You plug it in, you connect the box to your Wi-Fi, and it's live on Facebook and YouTube, very easy. And this is actually a unit that we manufacture. It's called the Webcaster X2. It allows you to plug in a camera and basically easily go live. So what we're doing actually here for this event is we have a multi-source setup. So if you notice, we've got a bunch of cameras around the room. We've got one there that's looking at the audience, one back there at the presenter, one for the wide shot there. We also have the presentation that's being kind of fed in. So there's a couple of things you can do when you have a multi-camera setup. And that's kind of usually what you see in a corporate or enterprise environment. You've got multiple cameras. So you want to use a video switcher before you actually stream it out in a traditional workflow, or you can use a more advanced video switcher like the one that we make. That's called Pearl 2, that actually aggregates all the video signals, mixes them, and then pushes it out to Facebook and YouTube. So live video is really different. I wouldn't say it's easier or harder to do than any sort of post-production. There's some tips that I have. So it's always the same amount. It's never easier. It's always the same amount of work. You just have to do it at a different time. So you do it before the event. Always let your audience know when you plan to go live. Always schedule that event way ahead of time so people know, okay, these guys are going live tomorrow. tomorrow evening, that person's going to remember. So don't just spontaneously stream and expect people to tune in. Always let them know. One of the benefits is there's much less to do after a live show except pack your stuff up and get paid. Start with what you have and add. So if you have a camera, just get a simple converter, use your computer and live stream. So this is a basic kind of setup that we have used for live streaming actually outside. And we also do a weekly live show here at Epiphan. As I mentioned, limit your number of dry runs, make it sincere, and everything will be great. The other thing, just as a tip, if you have 2 people during a live show, it's always better. Because this kind of friendly banter that's spontaneous really adds a lot of personality. So unless you're live streaming some sort of really emotional person, somebody who's really memorable, you always want to try to have a second person, just even as a host, just to kind of add that banter in there. So that's it. Yeah, if you have any questions about live streaming, I'd love to hear them. And thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Victor. I think the part about not being perfect when you're live really resonated with me right now. So that was really good. I hope you all have tons of questions churning in your brains for Evan and for Victor. I remember when I asked this next presenter to come talk at this meetup, I said, so Steve, what are you going to talk about? And then no kidding, he comes back and goes, how to be a plumber. What does that have to do with freelancing? I guess plumbers are freelancers. All right, well, we're going to find out together. Steve Tharp is an award-winning art director who flew all the way from Southern California, Temecula, if you know where that is. It's fun to say. Yeah, he's coming all the way here from Temecula. Art director of commercials and motion graphic design with over 13 years of experience as a seasoned motion graphics animator, editor, graphic designer, app development. I know, this guy, woo. Complex 2D and 3D motion graphic environments as well. More recently, Steve has produced creative works for large-scale productions for Major League Baseball, Toyota North America, Intel Super Bowl 51. Yeah, that was pretty awesome, 3D projection mapping. Hope it wasn't a spoiler. Sorry, man.
Not a spoiler.
Okay, Western Digital and Ernst Young. Steve specializes in understanding and executing high-caliber work from concept to completion, as well as managing and nurturing other artists to the exacting standards of each client's brand. So everyone give it up for Steve Tharp.
Thank you very much. Make sure my little remote is on here. So first, I was going to play a reel that kind of encompasses what I do on the day-to-day. So if you would mind watching it for 1.5 minutes. That's a little bit of what I do. Thank you very much. So before I get into my ramblings on, did my little clicker not work? Ah, there we go. Before I get into my ramblings on how to become a plumber, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born April 7th, 1980. That's my little brother, Getty. Yeah. And my dog, iStock. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I just stock images. You guys don't care about my childhood. I know. It's okay. So I started my career in the print industry when I was about, I think, 14 years old. And I was doing typography and design for a magazine and newspaper ads. And somebody told me that print was dead. And so I got into the web design industry, as any good kid with a misspent youth did at that time. And so there I did programming, layout for web, and got really kind of into the programming space. And I got a little bit bored with that, and then I found myself into the advertising industry, where I worked on large campaigns, local campaigns, regional campaigns, and I started to really kind of fall in love with video and really got a passion for that. And I bounced around to a few different places in California, some different agencies and whatnot, and I just want to let you know, every single office view I had wasn't that one. Nope, it was facing a brick wall or some other person's apartment, which could be awkward. At the last place I worked with, I left after about 10 years, and I was the VP at that organization. And this was a really tough decision to make. And for those of you who have left a long-time place of employment and go home and tell your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, I want you to kind of think about this next question here. And this was really like, I came home and I go, you know what, honey, I'm going to quit my job. How's Chloe doing? Chloe's our daughter. And I told her this, and it was a really like, we had been married for 9 years, and our first child, she was, I don't know, like 8 months at the time. I had a great job, great salary, benefits, retirement, the whole 9 yards. Now was not the time to screw any of this up. But I did. So it was kind of one of those light bulb moments where you're like, you kind of look at your next 5 to 10 years going, what do I want for my life? What do I want for my family? What do I want for my career? And so, sorry, I lost my place there. I decided to leave, and I spent the next 2 years or so bouncing around to different companies consulting. I do not want to knock that over. Consulting and whatnot. And then I finally decided that it was time to start a business. And when I made that decision, I ran into somebody who I will affectionately call as the wizard. Go ahead. And that's not the wizard. That's the wizard. And this person would fundamentally change my professional trajectory. And if he's watching tonight, I know he's squinting at me because he hates it when I call him the wizard. But this term is the best way I can describe him. And he was my first experience with a business advisor. And when we had met up, I was in Palm Springs at the time. When we met up, he drove out from Long Beach, and he's interviewing me, and I'm kind of interviewing him to see if our personalities gel. And they did, and we've been working together for 3 years now. And he told me something that really, like, it didn't make sense to me. He said, the best thing you can do is become a plumber for your clients or your agency. And I'm like, a plumber? You know I do motion design, right? I'm not a plumber. And so I had this look on my face that a lot of you probably have at me right now. And what he meant was, go ahead, Keith. What he meant is that you have to embed yourself into the subconsciousness of your client. And what he was getting at is when a client has a new job that comes through their pipeline or down from their CMO, whatever the case may be, you are the first person they think of for that project, and you're also the last person they think of for that project, even if it's outside your wheelhouse of talents. And that really kind of got me thinking, because whenever you find a plumber and they do a good job, they're on time, they do it for a great rate, and the quality is exactly what you want, you will never look for another. Step one was please be on time. And the way I learned this is you have a producer that hires you for a job. And I'm speaking in realms of video. You know, a producer comes to me and says, hey, we need you to animate, so on and so forth. Here's the timeline, here are the milestones, etc. When you don't meet those requirements, it is a poor reflection on that producer. So now that producer has to answer to his or her boss and go, Steve didn't meet the deadline. I mean, I'm sorry. This person is taking the brunt of that blame for you. So this producer-artist relationship is incredibly powerful. You don't want to make your producer look bad. This person is the one that gives you work. It's the one that interfaces with the client, and the person who keeps you working in that company. So you want to treat that relationship really special. Next one. The second one, be in it to win it. This is one of those things that we've all experienced, where you have to strive for the success of the project, not just to finish it. And what I mean by that is, and we've all been there, is it's 2 in the morning. You just sent out your final render, you know, for us video people, you just sent out your final render, and you're like, I'm done for the night. You put on your Star Wars slippies and you're heading to bed, you're gonna go to sleep, and you hear that ding, and you know exactly what that is. You know it's a last-minute change that came in from a client, and now you get up out of bed, you're like, honey, just get 2 minutes, I promise, 2 minutes, I'll be right back. 2 minutes, you know how it is. And you go and you look at the email, and it is one of these changes that is asking your opinion. And it's that change of, hey, what do you think we could just make this text fuchsia? What do you think? Just let me know, be honest. You have 2 choices here. You can reply back and go, oh, it's totally fine. Don't even change it. Don't even worry about it. The second one is more difficult. The second one is looking at that change going, well, why is the client asking for this? And looking at it for the betterment of the project, not just so you can put your Star Wars slippies back on and go to bed. So it's really just being honest with your client. If the change doesn't work, the change doesn't work. But don't have it not work just because you want to go back to bed. So it's being in it to win it. Next one, please. The third one, get out of your comfort zone. This one is fun. This one's all about taking mitigated risks to create more value to the project. So this could be coming up with a new illustrative example. It could be doing different style frames. It could be a different treatment. Whatever the case is, it's getting out of your comfort zone and always providing additional value to your client. This one reminds me of an interesting story in that I had a longtime client who started out as a great friend, ended as a great friend. I don't want you to think we're not friends anymore. Calls me up and says, hey, Steve, have you ever done projection mapping onto a building? Nope, I haven't. But I was honest with him, and I said, you know what? I've never had the opportunity to do that, but you know me. You know how I work. If I say I can do it, it's going to get done. So I told him that, hey, if you hire me to do this, it'll get done right, and we'll figure it out. And we ended up projecting onto a building. It went great, and that project was for Major League Baseball's All-Star Game in 2015. Not a small project. A lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and a lot of, okay, we got to make this work. It's not one of those clients you want to fail at. But it was just about getting out of that comfort zone, and sometimes you got to run before you can walk, and that is one of those moments where it's like, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith here, and we're going to make this work. So it is about getting out of your comfort zone. Next one. So this one is fun. FaceTime matters. For those of you who do freelancing work remote for agencies and whatnot, chances are they have never met you. And chances are they have never met any of their other remote workers. So it's really about getting FaceTime. So it's making the commitment with your agency or clients to go, hey, what's your schedule like next week? I'd love to come out and meet you guys. You know, I'll buy you guys a coffee, I'll buy you guys a drink, take you out to lunch, whatever. And you go out there and you make that connection, you make that commitment. Because nothing shows that you're committed to them like you flying out to meet someone. So in the next couple of weeks, I do a lot of work in the Midwest for some agencies. I'm going out there, they've never met me. I called them up saying, hey, what's your schedule like? They tell you, and it's like, then you just go out on your own dime. And I'm not going to lie, it can be expensive. You know, plane flights are expensive, hotels are expensive, but I guarantee showing that level of commitment, they will immediately think of you every time a new project comes up. Because you'll be there, they'll go, oh yeah, Steve showed up. Yeah, he wore a purple shirt. You look nice. We'll give him some new work. So it can definitely make an impact. So the next one is ask for the work you want. And this one is also interesting. A lot of these are interesting, but this one's really interesting. Because how many times have you been like, damn, I really want to do more character animation, or I really want to do more just conceptual design work. And you just kind of stew on that going, gosh, I really wish I would have done that. But then how many times do you go to your client and say, hey, I really enjoyed working on our last project together. By the way, I'm looking to do more of X, Y, Z. Just to let you know, if you have anything in your pipeline, I'd love to take that on. And I've done this a few times, and it's amazing on how quick they reciprocate that. One example I have is when I went up and met 4 Winds. And I had my demo reel on me, because you should always be prepared. And I showed them some 3D work I did. And they looked at each other, and they were like, oh, we actually have a 3D project coming in. We have an editor, we have a compositor, but we don't have a 3D guy. Would you like it? Yeah, of course. So it's all about making those connections. The 6th one is creating value. This one is about, back in the day, you could have a 2D artist, and all they did is 2D animation. They didn't do any design work, they didn't know how to color correct, they didn't even know what color correction was. And all they did was just 2D animation. Those days are kind of over. Right now, everybody needs to be a generalist. So you obviously have to be really good at your job, but you also have to know how the different components fit within each other. So it's not that you have to be, you know, a great sound editor, but you have to know how sound works, just like you have to know how color correction works. So it's all about branching out of kind of your original programming and creating more value for your client. And that's how you stay relevant in this marketplace. The 7th one is learn what you don't know. This is kind of one of those duh statements. But when you have a client that comes to you, again, speaking in terms of animation, they come to you with a job, and they immediately think that you can just animate anything. You know, they look at you and go, okay, well, you can do a logo animation. You can clearly animate 2D bunny rabbits falling into a bucket with physics. Yeah, I mean, what's the difference there? The problem is we get stuck animating in a particular style. And then when that request comes up, we're like, oh, I don't know. Do I say I don't know how to do that? Do I say I do know how to do that? The thing you should do is you get the request for bunny rabbits dropping into a bucket. You go over to like AE Scripts or whatever and buy Newton, and you figure out how to do it. Because if you don't, there's going to be another artist who is going to. And that person will get the job, and that person will become that company's plumber. So it's all about continuously evolving your craft. Number 8, you're not a freelancer, you're a business. This one I struggled with a lot, and I continue to struggle with it every day. It gets easier, but creatives are not business people, and business people are not creatives. And that's okay. They're 2 completely separate worlds. It keeps the world spinning. But when I first started my relationship with my business advisor, he said that you need to put a picture of your wife and daughter on your desk. And he goes, and anytime you have a business decision come in, he goes, you have to look at that picture because that'll give you context for who you're doing this for. And it was amazing the level of clarity that gives, because it's not that the decisions got easier. They got harder. But you realize that it doesn't matter if it's an easy decision or a hard decision. What it helps you do is figure out the decision you need to make. Because you can sit there and you can just waffle back and forth. You can go, oh, should I take this job? Should I not take this job? I don't know why. And then you look at that picture and it's like, actually, the money is good. I'm going to take that job because I have to feed my family. Or, I don't know. This is going to have me leave for 6 weeks on the road. I don't know if I could do that to my family. So it gives you context in a way that, that sometimes you need. You need it to function. Number 9, have energy. So this one's fun. So imagine for a second, for the guys out here, that you've been dating a woman for 3 years, and you're like, it's time to get married. And you go up to her and you go, honey, we've been dating for 3 years. Sunset's pale in comparison to your beauty. Will you marry me? And what if she looked at you and says, that's not the reaction you were hoping for? Because you played this out in your mind. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to get such a great reaction here. So now contrast that with how you talk to your clients. When your clients come up to you with a job, they're really excited about it. And if you go, yeah, how many days do you need me for? You're not excited. That energy isn't reciprocating. And then from a client perspective, they're looking at you going, well, this person's clearly not excited. Are they not excited because they can't do the job? Or do they not want the job? And it's putting doubt in their mind, and you're fine about it. You're just like, yeah, what do you need? So it's all about reciprocating that energy. Do I have time for a quick story? 3 minutes? Okay, great. I can be long-winded. There was this one time this happened where it was in the reverse. A client came to me, and they were kind of ho-hum about this project. And they're describing the project to me, and it was really exciting to me because it was exactly what I wanted to do. It was like this explainer video in a style that I really wanted to do, and I was incredibly excited about it. And I'm chatting with them, giving them ideas left and right, and we're really, the ideas are flowing. And just from that level of excitement and engagement, it took a medium 4-figure job into a medium 5-figure job because they were really excited about the concept. So if I just came in going, yeah, sure, how long do you need me? We would miss out on doing much bigger work, much bigger dollars, and having a really happy client at the end of that rainbow. So have energy. Number 10, be happy. We all fall into this trap. We got to remember, we're creatives. We're in the business of creating, and we get paid for that. Yes, it can suck. Yes, it can be painful. Yes, you have 4 in the morning issues. Ding! Emails going off at all hours of the night. That pain is temporary. We're in this business because we either really like it or we have issues. One of the two. So chances are you're here so you really like it. So just be happy. You're doing what you love to do. The pain is temporary. Just be happy about it because it just makes life that much easier. So in closing, that's how I became a plumber. And these are the kind of the 10 things that I try and do every day for a client. Because the interesting thing is that the world has gotten so small and it's gotten so saturated with talent. You could throw a rock and hit amazing designers. But those designers they may not have the problem-solving skills that you have. They may not have the communication skills that you have. Because when you start looking at freelancing as a business, you realize you're not in the design business. You're in the customer service business. And when you start looking at it like that, when you start developing the relationships with your client beyond just, I'm going to work in my underwear today. You know, when you start really treating it as a business, you realize that the clients will always come back to you. They will always ask you if you can do this, if you can do this, without you even saying anything. I've had clients come up saying, can you project on a car? Yeah. Have you done it? No. This will be our first one. We're in it to win it. So that's my speech. Huge shout out to Four Winds. Thank you very much for having me. I want to thank my wife, who is probably watching, because I did this speech no less than 15 times in front of her. And the one thing she told me not to do was pace. So having this big old expensive thing here and this screen kept me right here. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I am embarrassed to say that I've probably been many of those dings.
No. I didn't use any names for this. No names.
I'd like to invite our presenters back, please. We're going to start our Q&A section right now. I'm going to start by recognizing the people who have been engaging on the web. Thank you to Kwong Lee, Ryan Cho, AJ. Shout out to you guys right now. If you want to shout out, go ahead and comment here on the YouTube. First question here, and then you guys here in the room, is for Evan. Ryan Cho says, since freelancing is not a steady cash flow / work, isn't a typical 9-to-5 job, how do you handle the art of getting freelance work on a consistent basis? Thanks for the tips.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think it goes back to that cycle for me that, and Steve was definitely hitting on this too, that if you do good work and they like you, that cycle of 9 to 5 will happen pretty regularly. I think, you know, clients will find work for you to do if they like you enough. So, Steve, I don't know if you want to take a stab at that. I mean, you've been doing this longer than I have.
I remember when I had a 9-to-5 job. It's true. When you do good work and you provide good customer service, that it's about being a plumber. They're not going to look for anyone else. So, you know, it's like I've had people come up to me saying, hey, can you do, you know, I don't know, something I don't do, something that is not in my core services. And I go and I recommend somebody who can, because it's all about being comfortable with your work ethic, your level of skill, and not being intimidated by saying, hey, you know what? Evan does a great job at directing. I don't direct. I push pixels for a living. It's like I leave it to the people who are really great at it. And you got to be comfortable in referring that work, because when you refer out, it gets referred to you. So you just keep the cycle going. No, that was good. All right.
Questions in the room? Who's the brave soul?
I have a question for Victor. Sure. So how has the technology affected the availability and capability of going live from various events?
Bring him on over.
So if I understand correctly, you want how has the technology affected, you know, just everybody going live? So that's actually, the technology has been good and bad, because it has facilitated a lot of very low quality live streams as well, right? So it's always a double-edged sword, but that is actually, you can use that to your advantage, because as a professional, you know, you can really raise the bar for the live streams, and the technology is always changing. I'd say that even in the past, you know, 2 years ago, I don't think we even had Facebook Live, right? Now everybody's using Facebook Live. Maybe 5-10 years ago, you needed a $20,000 rig to even do a live stream, right? Now we are selling a device for $300 that allows you to live stream, right? So it's good because it has brought the price down, and it's much easier to stream now. But it also means that there's a lot of really bad streams out there as well. So
Signal versus noise.
exactly. Signal versus noise. That's perfect.
Any other questions from the room? You got a USB? Yeah, good. Nice.
This is weird. I'll go over here. So, Steve,
Yeah.
just a question about how you came to decide to get a business advisor, and then also, you know, how did you find that person?
So That's a great question. A friend of mine owns a design shop in Santa Monica. And if you want to know who it is, I'll tell you off air. But very, very reputable guy. And I was chatting with him one day, and I'm like, I'm really thinking about making the push to become a business owner, because I had always freelanced prior. And he said, okay, you got to talk to this guy. And he's the one that referred me over to him. His name is Keir McLaren. You can find him on LinkedIn, Keir, I before E, yes, and last name McLaren like the car. And when we first met, I showed him my reel just like any artist would, here's my reel, what do you think? And it wasn't really even about that. It was like, can you function talking to clients? Can you be in a client meeting, not fumble all over yourself? Do you present yourself with confidence? If you answer yes to those, then it's like, okay, yeah, we can work together. Because one great thing that he doesn't do is he doesn't look at the work going, I don't know if you should do that. I don't know if you should be in business for yourself. Because rightfully so, art is so subjective. And what works for one client's needs, another client could look at it and go, oh, I would never want that. But for this client, that fits within another marketing campaign, so it's not fair to judge, and he does a really good job at that. And just to kind of give you a little bit of the process him and I have, we chat for about an hour, hour and a half every week. And I basically say, here's what happened last week. Here's kind of the struggle that I'm dealing with. I got a client, they decided not to pay, blah, 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 and it's talking out solutions. He'll say, well, how did you get into that situation in the first place? Well, I started the work before I got a deposit. Well, why'd you do that? I told you not to do that. So he holds you accountable for kind of following his advice, and he's also a great, I'll use the word therapist. He's also a great therapist to bounce ideas off of and say, I'm having to work so much, it's kind of starting to affect personal life, and he can give insights on that. And he's also a fantastic resource on where the industry is going. I mean, he's owned businesses, he's done media buying, he's done it all. And he can come at you with some unbiased opinions and can really give you a good lay of the land. So that's kind of in a nutshell how that worked.
Do you have to pay him like a consulting fee at all, or you just like him?
There's a fee. No, there's a fee. Yeah, it's not cheap. I'm not going to lie. But as I was telling Evan before we started, it is worth every dime, because just the knowledge, I would have to be in business for another 15 years to realize what he told me a month into our relationship. So it's huge. It is money well spent. Yeah.
Good question. Thank you. Brian Cho wants to thank you guys. We have time for one more question. Anyone in the room? If not, I have one. Saying no is one of those scary things for freelancers or for clients just in general, especially if you're running your own business. Is it possible to say no and yet regain trust after, let's say, the project didn't go so well, or you did say no because you weren't available at the time, but you're scared to say no, so you're trying to stretch yourself? What do you guys think about regaining trust after saying no? Are you even hurting trust?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, I was kind of struck by a little bit of a contrast between the two things that we said.
Right, yeah.
Because you're saying kind of stretch yourself, go out there, say yes to things that you don't know how to do. And I think, I'm rationalizing, like, Steve has a lot more experience. Steve's working with people that already trust him. If you're just starting out, you don't want to stretch that trust. You do that after the second or third time. So I think to answer your question, or Shar's question, is when you say no the first time, it's going to be a real hard no. If you say no to the first time somebody's asked you to do something, the chance of that coming back, I think, is real small. So I think you really have to take that seriously when the first time you say no to a type of work or to a certain client, and make sure that if you really want to work for them, you follow up and say, really listen to me, I'm sorry I had this other commitment, or the timing wasn't right, or it wasn't qualified, now I am, right? Following up again is a huge thing. And that's, again, like, if you have to turn down for work for a client you work with a lot, you may not be on their first to call. And you're saying you want to be top of mind for people. So it's about getting back in their first to call, top of mindset, their subconscious, I think is the word you said.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you have to say no, get back in that subconscious back a week later when you're looking for work, or even when you're got your head above water again.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's interesting, saying no. That's really tough, especially when you're doing this, for a living. When I was freelancing, I was always I had like a full-time job, and I do like freelancing on the side, so saying no was very easy. What I've kind of learned is when I say no, when I say no, it's usually because of a budgetary reason, to where a client wants this for this. And if this doesn't equate to that, then sometimes you just got to say no, because there's an intrinsic value in what you do. It's not just about the art, it's also about the problem solving. Yeah. And I think we all stretch ourselves to a certain degree. That's how we grow. That's how we endure. And I've had clients to where I kind of wish I said no because the project was like a disaster. But then there were other times where I didn't say no, and it did stretch my talents. It stretched my, I guess, my threshold of pain a little bit, to where it was like, you know what, I really grew at that project. I'm really happy I did it. So to add to that, sometimes I say no just because of budgetary reasons. Sometimes scheduling. If you have a big, huge commitment, you can say no. But I think the key in saying no is providing a solution. So you can say no all you want, but I could say, yeah, I actually can't do that, but I got a guy, Evan.
Exactly. Yes,
I'll check with him, and we all three of us can make this work, because you have a relationship with me. You have a particular style. You and I'm talking to you like we're working together. You and I have a particular style. I know what you like. You know what I can do. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I can art direct this, and Evan can step in and do this, and we can all collaborate on that. So I think you can say no, but have a solution at the end of it.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for our program. Let's give it up one more time. I know that was a really good clap, but these three presenters really deserve it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Epiphan Video, for hosting us. Thank you, Lisa, our TD over there, doing all the presentations. And if you joined late, watch the on-demand replay. I love saying that. Thank you to all these gorgeous people in the room as well. So thank you for being here. There's tons of food and drinks, so please help yourself. We're here till 8:30. Oh, we're going to close out with a video. I love these surprises. Here we go.